Imagine a curse so deadly it struck across centuries. In 1922, a lost tomb in Egypt's sands unveiled Tutankhamun's golden legacy and a sinister myth. As explorers fell to mysterious deaths, tales of a vengeful pharaoh spread like wildfire. But the true horror lay within, a boy king betrayed by his own blood. Dive into a saga of divine dreams and genetic doom. Can you face the secrets of Tutankhamun's curse? Welcome to our channel. Join us to unravel the chilling mystery of Tutankhamun's curse. In Egypt's Valley of the Kings, a tomb lay sealed for over 3,000 years. In 1922, Howard Carter broke through, revealing Tutankhamun's treasures, golden masks, and ancient secrets. Whispers of a curse followed. Lord Carnarvon, the expedition's financier, died mysteriously, fueling tales of Pharaoh's vengeance. But was this supernatural wrath? Science tells a darker story. Tutankhamun, the boy king of Egypt's 18th dynasty, ruled a glittering empire, yet carried a hidden doom. DNA studies from 2010 and 2025 unveil the truth. His bloodline, bound by sacred inbreeding, wove a genetic curse, fragile bones, a frail body, and a dynasty rotting from within. As we journey from Thebes' grand halls to Amarna's radical shadows, we'll uncover a saga of ambition and betrayal. What destroyed this young pharaoh? Step into history's depths to reveal the chilling answer. To unravel the mystery of Tutankhamun's curse, we must step back to the zenith of ancient Egypt, the New Kingdom from 1550 to 1292 BCE, where the 18th dynasty reigned as living gods. Their empire was a colossus, its arms stretching from the fertile Nile Delta to the sun-scorched deserts of Nubia in the south and the distant plains of Mitanni in the north. Gold flowed like the Nile itself, mined from Nubian hills, traded for spices and ivory, and poured into temples that pierced the heavens. Thebes, the city of 100 gates, was the heart of this glory. Its markets buzzed with merchants hawking lapis lazuli and cedarwood, while priests in Karnak's vast halls chanted hymns to Amun-Ra, the king of gods. Obelisks carved with tales of conquest gleamed under the relentless sun, symbols of a civilization that seemed eternal. At the helm stood pharaohs like Amenhotep III, Tutankhamun's grandfather, a titan whose reign marked the dynasty's peak. His armies crushed rebellions, securing tribute from vassal states. His wealth gilded palaces and temples, his name etched into eternity. Yet, beneath this splendor lurked a tradition that would cast a long shadow. Egyptian royalty believed their blood was divine, a sacred essence that must remain pure. To protect the throne from outsiders, pharaohs married within the family, siblings, cousins, even daughters. This mirrored the myth of Osiris and Isis, divine siblings who birthed Horus, the falcon-headed god. It was no mere custom, it was a political fortress, ensuring power stayed within the royal line. Amenhotep III wed his daughter Sitamun, binding the bloodline tighter. His son, Akhenaten, would push this practice, and Egypt itself, to the brink. Akhenaten, known as the heretic pharaoh, shattered centuries of tradition. Around 1353 BCE, he declared Aten, the sun disk, the sole god, casting aside Amun-Ra and Egypt's ancient pantheon. Temples were abandoned, priests stripped of power. He left Thebes, building a new capital, Akhetaten, modern Amarna, in a barren desert valley. Here, art took a strange turn. Elongated skulls, slender frames, and intimate family scenes carved in stone. Akhenaten's great royal wife, Nefertiti, famed for her iconic bust, may have been his half-sister or cousin, her lineage tangled in the same web. His secondary wife, known only as the Younger Lady, was his full sister. Their union, celebrated with hymns and incense, would produce Tutankhamun, but at a terrible cost. This obsession with blood purity was a double-edged sword. The court saw it as divine, a sacred echo of the gods' unions. Yet, it sowed seeds of destruction. DNA studies from 2010, led by Egyptologist Zahi Hawass and reaffirmed in 2025, reveal the grim truth. Inbreeding amplified recessive traits, harmful mutations hidden in the royal blood. The inbreeding coefficient, higher than modern siblings, turned these traits into dominant curses. High infant mortality plagued the dynasty. Children born frail, their bodies betraying the strength their titles demanded. Amenhotep III and his queen Ti, likely cousins, passed these vulnerabilities to their son, Akhenaten, and his sister wife. Their children, including Tutankhamun, would inherit a genetic labyrinth, a coiled asp ready to strike. Akhenaten's revolution deepened the crisis. His monotheistic fervor alienated priests who saw their gods erased. Nobles grumbled as taxes funded Amarna's gleaming temples to Aten. Foreign allies like the Mitanni grew wary as Egypt's focus turned inward. The empire, once a beacon, showed cracks. Trade routes faltered. Rebellions simmered in Nubia. In Amarna's opulent palaces, the royal family lived in a bubble of divine delusion, blind to the chaos brewing. Art from this period, with its exaggerated features, long necks, swollen skulls, may reflect more than style. Some scholars suggest these were signs of genetic flaws, visible scars of inbreeding's toll. The court called them divine quirks, but whispers spread. Was this the gods' displeasure, or a deeper rot? As Akhenaten and Nefertiti raised their children in Amarna's sunlit courts, the dynasty's fate hung in the balance. Their son, Tutankhamun, born to the younger lady, entered a world of gilded illusions. Could a child of such a tangled bloodline uphold the empire's glory, or was his birth the beginning of its end? The stage was set for a boy king to inherit a legacy not of gold, but of doom. In the radical city of Amarna, around 1341 BCE, the air hangs heavy with incense and dread. Within a torchlit chamber, the younger lady, full sister to Pharaoh Akhenaten, labors under the watchful eyes of midwives. Priests murmur prayers to Aten, the sun disk, their voices trembling as if sensing the weight of fate. This is no ordinary birth. The child born this night is Tutankhaten, later known as Tutankhamun, the living image of Amun, destined to wear Egypt's double crown. But as the infant emerges, a chilling silence falls. His cry is weak, a faint gurgle, as if the Nile itself chokes his lungs. His limbs hang limp, his skin pale as faded papyrus. His head, too large for a frail neck, pulses unnaturally under the flickering light. The midwives exchange glances, their faces paling. This child is no divine promise. He is a warning. From his first breath, Tutankhamun bears the scars of his bloodline. His left foot twists inward, a clubfoot deformity known as pes equinovarus, dooming him to a life of limping. DNA studies from 2010, led by Zahi Hawass and reaffirmed in 2025, confirm the toll of inbreeding. Born to Akhenaten and his sister, the younger lady, Tutankhamun inherits an inbreeding coefficient higher than modern siblings, a genetic knot tightening with each generation. Recessive traits, once hidden, now surface like crocodiles from the Nile's depths. His spine curves subtly, mild kyphoscoliosis, causing discomfort no royal title can ease. An overbite, a hallmark of the Thutmosid lineage, juts his teeth forward. A partial cleft palate, a split in the roof of his mouth, makes nursing a daily struggle, his weak cries echoing in the opulent halls. The court physicians scramble, draping the infant in fine linen, adorning him with scarab amulets of gold. He is divine, they proclaim, their voices strained. They prescribe herbs from the Nile's banks, chant incantations to strengthen him. But no ritual can undo the damage. Tutankhamun is the endpoint of a dynasty defying nature's laws. His great-grandparents, Yuya and Thuya,
likely cousins, passed vulnerabilities through Queen Tay and Amenhotep III to Akhenaten.
Each union, meant to preserve divine purity, wove a genetic labyrinth. The 2010 DNA analysis reveals a homozygosity that amplifies recessive horrors, skeletal deformities, weakened immunity, a body betraying its sacred status.
As a toddler, Tutankhamen's steps come late, uncertain. Over 130 canes, later found worn in his tomb, KV62, bear silent witness to his frailty. He stumbles through Amarna's sunlit corridors, courtiers averting their eyes, ashamed to gaze upon their future ruler. Tutors despair over a child who stares blankly at flickering oil lamps, tracing hieroglyphs as if seeking escape from his fragile flesh. Fevers rack his body, likely from malaria, Plasmodium falciparum, multiple strains coursing through his veins, inherited from ancestors whose bloodlines were too close. Kohler's disease, a rare condition, gnaws at his foot bones, denying blood supply, causing pain no balm can soothe. His immune system, crippled by inbreeding, crumbles like eroding sandstone, leaving him vulnerable to relentless assaults. Yet the court plays its grotesque theater. Priests bow low, nobles murmur praises, calling him a god's heir. To admit his flaws is to confess the dynasty's rot. Behind palace walls, whispers grow. Is this Aten's punishment for Akhenaten's heresy? A sorcerer's hex from rival Mitanni? Or a curse woven deeper, in the blood itself? Physicians burn myrrh, pour holy water, claiming miracles will come. Akhenaten, lost in his sun disk devotion, ignores the signs. Queen T, wielding influence from afar, cannot mend what blood has wrought. The boy grows in a gilded cage, his every step a reminder of a legacy unraveling. Suspense looms over Amarna's opulid shadows. Can this fragile child bear the weight of an empire? As Akhenaten's radical reign falters, priests alienated, allies wavering, the stage is set for a boy to inherit not glory, but a poisoned throne. The dynasty's divine dream is curling inward, like a noose of lotus reeds around its own throat. What lies ahead for Tutankhamun? A crown too heavy for his frail frame, or a fate that will echo through the ages? By 1332 BCE, a 9-year-old boy ascends Egypt's throne, his frail frame draped in the heavy linens of a pharaoh. Tutankhamun, now Tutankhamun, to honor the restored god Amun, is no ruler but a symbol, a marionette manipulated by unseen hands. His clubfoot drags as he is carried in a golden litter through Thebes' bustling streets, the double crown teetering on his oversized head. Malaria courses through his veins, sapping strength from a body already bent by mild scoliosis. Kohler's disease gnaws at his foot bones, making each step a silent agony. Over 130 canes, later found worn in his tomb, KV62, betray the truth. This boy can barely walk. Yet the court spins a grand illusion. Wall reliefs depict him as a warrior, hunting lions, driving chariots across desert sands. To Egypt, he is divine. To reality, he is crumbling. Power lies not with Tutankhamun, but with his regents. I, the cunning vizier, and possibly his grandfather through Queen T, whispers decrees in the shadows. Horemheb, a battle-hardened general, molds his reign with an iron grip. They sign papyri in his name, their seals heavy with ambition. Tutankhamun clutches lotus chains, his glassy eyes fixed on flickering oil lamps in Thebes' palaces. His silences are spun as wisdom, his fevers as communion with Ra. When he stumbles, courtiers call it divine contemplation, their voices masking unease. The empire demands a god-king. It has a fragile child, propped up by lies and gilded thrones. Every public appearance, slumped in his litter, face pale as alabaster, tests the court's fragile theater. To secure the dynasty, the court orchestrates a sacred union. Tutankhamun weds Ankhesenamun, his half-sister, daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. She is a vision of grace, her beauty immortalized in Amarna's delicate reliefs. Their marriage, sealed with hymns to Osiris and Isis, mirrors the divine sibling lovers of myth. Incense swirls, priests chant, and lotus petals scatter as the young couple stands hand in hand. The court dreams of heirs to stretch the bloodline, to anchor the 18th dynasty against its fraying edges. But nature, bound by no royal decree, rebels. The inbreeding that birthed Tutankhamun now curses his lineage's future. Two daughters, known as mummies 317A and 317B in his tomb, are stillborn, one at 5 months, another at 9. CT scans from 2010 reveal their twisted forms, spina bifida splitting their spines, scoliosis curling their fragile bones, limbs malformed by the same genetic noose that strangles their father. Tutankhamun is sterile, his body ravaged by malaria and skeletal decay. Physicians brew potions from Nile herbs, drape him in scarab amulets, and offer prayers to Hathor, goddess of motherhood. Nothing works. Ankhesenamun, barely a teenager, withers in despair, her eyes hollow as she cradles lifeless bundles. The court's hope for a male heir dissolves like sand in the wind. Superstition grips Thebes. Priests burn myrrh, pour holy water over Tutankhamun's trembling frame, and carve spells into amulets to banish unseen demons. Whispers spread. Is this Aten's wrath for Akhenaten's heresy? The old god's revenge?
Or a curse from foreign enemies like the Mitanni or Hittites? No one dares name the true culprit. The bloodlines rot, woven by generations of sibling unions. Suspense coils tighter as the dynasty teeters. Banquets grow frantic, musicians play to a king lost in fever's haze. Tutankhamun's frail form slumps at feasts, his hands trembling around a golden goblet. A priest dares whisper, a kingdom ruled by a relic, before vanishing into Thebes' shadows. After Tutankhamun's death, the Amarna letters, a cache of diplomatic clay tablets, reveal Ankhesenamun's desperate gambit. She writes to Suppiluliuma, king of the Hittites, begging for his son, Zananza, to marry her and save Egypt's throne. The prince is sent, but disappears en route, likely murdered by factions loyal to Ai or Horemheb. The act sparks diplomatic chaos, with Hittite envoys accusing Egypt of treachery. Ankhesenamun vanishes from history, perhaps forced to wed Ai, her fate a silent scream in the annals. The court's illusions shatter. No heir, no future. Tutankhamun's 9-year reign, a flicker in Egypt's long history, leaves no monuments, only a dynasty gasping its last. Thebes' golden halls echo with denial as the boy king's life fades, his bloodline a noose tightening around Egypt's throat. What killed him? And what of the curse that haunted his tomb? The answers lie not in spirits, but in science's cold light. The curse of Tutankhamun's tomb, born in the media frenzy of 1922, gripped the world with tales of supernatural vengeance. When Howard Carter unearthed KV-62, revealing treasures untouched for millennia, the discovery was a triumph. But months later, Lord Carnarvon, the expedition's financier, lay dead from an infected mosquito bite. Newspapers screamed of a pharaoh's wrath, claiming unseen forces struck those who dared disturb the boy king's rest. Other deaths followed, team members felled by illness or accident, fueling myths of divine retribution. Yet science dismantles this legend, revealing a truth far more chilling than any ghost. The curse of Tutankhamun's tomb wasn't carved in stone or whispered by spirits, it was etched in Tutankhamun's very blood. In 2010, a groundbreaking DNA study led by Egyptologist Zahi Hawass peeled back the myth. Reaffirmed in 2025, the findings exposed the 18th dynasty's fatal flaw: inbreeding. Tutankhamun, born of Akhenaten and his sister, the younger lady, carried a genetic burden.
His inbreeding coefficient, higher than modern siblings, amplified recessive traits into devastating defects. CT scans of his mummy, conducted alongside DNA tests, revealed a body ravaged by ailments. His left clubfoot, pes equinovarus, hobbled him from birth, forcing reliance on over 130 canes found in his tomb. Mild kyphoscoliosis curved his spine, causing subtle but persistent pain. Kohler's disease eroded his foot bones, a rare condition starving them of blood. Multiple strains of Plasmodium falciparum malaria detected in his remains overwhelmed his crippled immune system, a direct consequence of his lineage's tangled web. Tutankhamun's death, around 1323 BCE at age 19, was no murder or chariot crash as some speculated. A fractured femur, likely from a fall due to his weakened limbs, festered into gangrene. Combined with malaria's relentless assaults, it triggered a fatal immune response. His heart faltered under heavy linen sheets, his breath fading amid useless amulets. The court, desperate to preserve its divine facade, buried him hastily in an unfinished tomb, its walls bare, its treasures, over 5,000 artifacts, piled in chaos. The 1922 curse myth, amplified by Carnarvon's death, was likely fueled by coincidence or ergotism, a fungal infection from tomb spores, not supernatural forces. Earlier claims of oligodactyly, missing toes, lacked evidence, corrected by later scans showing only skeletal decay from inbreeding.
This genetic curse wasn't Tutankhamun's alone. His stillborn daughters, mummies 317A and 317B, bore the same scars, spina bifida and scoliosis, their tiny frames twisted by the dynasty's obsession with blood purity. The court's prayers to Hathor, their scarab amulets and Nile water rituals couldn't save them. The true tragedy wasn't a vengeful spirit, but a bloodline collapsing under its own weight. As Thebes' priests chanted feudal hymns, the empire faced a reckoning. Tutankhamun's death left no heirs, no future. The 18th dynasty, once a beacon, dimmed in denial. What of the tomb's curse? A tale spun by fear and fascination, obscuring a deeper truth. Nature's laws outlast divine titles. Tutankhamun was no victim of gods or assassins, but of a dynasty that wove its own noose. As we move to his legacy, one question lingers. How did this boy king, frail and forgotten, become an eternal icon? In 1323 BCE, Tutankhamun, the boy king, draws his final breath at 19. His fractured femur, festering into gangrene, and relentless malaria strains overwhelm his frail body. No grand farewell marks his end, just a fading gasp beneath heavy linen sheets, surrounded by futile amulets. Thebes' priests, their chants faltering, prepare a rushed burial in an unfinished tomb, KV 62. The 18th dynasty, once a beacon of divine power, teeters on extinction. Tutankhamun leaves no sons, his stillborn daughters, twisted by spina bifida and scoliosis, silent proof of a bloodline's collapse. The golden halls of Thebes echo with denial as the dynasty faces its reckoning. And Kessenamen, his young widow, stands alone, her beauty fading in grief. Desperate to save Egypt's throne, she takes a bold step. The Amarna letters, diplomatic clay tablets, reveal her plea to Suppiluliuma, king of the Hittites, to send a prince to marry her and rule as pharaoh. Zananza, the Hittite prince, is dispatched, but he vanishes en route, likely murdered by factions loyal to Ai or Horemheb. The act ignites fury. Hittite envoys accuse Egypt of treachery, straining alliances, and Kessenamen's fate darkens. Likely forced to wed Ai, her grandfatherly vizier, she vanishes from history, her name erased like Amarna's fleeting dream.
I rules briefly from 1323 to 1319 BCE, an old man clinging to a crumbling crown.
Horemheb, the iron-fisted general, seizes power next, ruling until 1292 BCE. A commoner by birth, he dismantles Akhenaten's legacy with ruthless precision. Amarna's temples are razed, Aten's name chiseled from stone. Statues of Akhenaten and Tutankhamun are defaced, their monotheistic experiment buried in sand. Horemheb names Ramesses I as successor, birthing the 19th dynasty. But Egypt's glory fades. Nubian rebellions flare, Mitanni alliances dissolve, and trade routes wither. The empire, weakened by internal strife, faces foreign vultures circling a faltering throne. The 18th dynasty's end is no sudden blow, but a slow unraveling. Inbreeding's genetic curse, amplified through generations, left Tutankhamun and his heirs frail, sterile, doomed. Akhenaten's radical vision alienated priests and nobles, sowing chaos. Tutankhamun's brief reign, a flicker of restoration, couldn't mend the fractures. Thebes, once vibrant, grows quiet, its markets hushed, its temples shadowed. The dynasty that built an empire on divine blood now lies in ruins, its legacy a cautionary tale. Purity, unchecked, breeds destruction. As Tutankhamun's tomb is sealed, his name fades, lost to time for millennia. But in 1922, his rediscovery will spark a new chapter. How does a forgotten boy king become an eternal icon? The answer lies not in his life, but in the treasures and truths unearthed from his grave. In November 1922, Howard Carter's chisel broke through a sealed door in the Valley of the Kings, unveiling tomb KV62. Golden treasures, masks, chariots, canes, sparkled in the lantern's glow, resurrecting Tutankhamun from 3 millennia of obscurity. The world stood transfixed. His iconic death mask, gleaming with lapis lazuli and gold, became Egypt's eternal face. This discovery didn't just unearth artifacts, it birthed Egyptology, igniting a global quest to decode the Nile's secrets. Museums swelled with Tutankhamun's relics, from alabaster vases to his 130 worn canes, each telling of a frail boy king. Exhibitions drew millions. Films like The Mummy, 1932, wove his myth into popular culture, and scholars pored over papyri to unravel his era's mysteries.
Science deepened the fascination. Reconstructions in 2023, blending CT scans and DNA from 2010 and 2025, painted Tutankhamun's true face: medium brown skin, a delicate jaw, and a body scarred by inbreeding's curse, clubfoot, scoliosis, malaria. These findings, led by Zahi Hawass, stripped away divine illusions. Tutankhamun wasn't a warrior or god, but a teenager broken by his lineage's obsession with blood purity. His stillborn daughters, their spines twisted by spina bifida, mirrored his own genetic doom. The curse that gripped the world in 1922 wasn't supernatural, but biological, a dynasty's collapse under the weight of its own traditions. Tutankhamun's 9-year reign left no grand temples or conquests, only a cautionary tale. The 18th dynasty, once a beacon, fell to inbreeding's relentless toll. Akhenaten's radical vision and sibling unions bred fragility, not strength. Tutankhamun's death from gangrene and malaria marked the end of an era. His widow Ankhesenemon's desperate plea to the Hittites a final, futile gasp. Yet his rediscovery transformed history. Egyptology flourished, revealing the new kingdom's splendor and flaws. Tutankhamun became a symbol, not of power, but of human limits. His story warns, when ambition blinds us to nature's laws, even divine bloodlines crumble. Today, his golden mask gazes from museum cases, a reminder of a boy who carried an empire's weight. His tomb, though small, speaks louder than pyramids. It teaches that legacy isn't built on gold alone, but on the truths we unearth. Tutankhamun, a forgotten pharaoh, became immortal through discovery, not deeds. Want more tales from history's shadows? Subscribe now and join our journey into the past, where every relic whispers a lesson for today.